Welcome, everyone. This is the World of Ability Podcast Network, and we are here again with the lovely Cece joining us for her podcast. And I'm so happy to introduce her. Cece, welcome on in here. I am so happy to see you. I'm going to go ahead and turn the reins over to you to see what we've got for today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Sue, and thank you so much to everyone who's listening today. My name is Cece. I'm known as the Pound Cake Lady, and I do a lot of other things too, more than just talk. Okay, I do a lot of research, and today I'm going to share some of the research that I found regarding unauthorized termination of essential services. And the reason why I started this podcast is to bring hope and inspiration to those who were, not encouraged about situations and face the situations instead of running from them. In my case, this is what happened to us in our community. We are a condominium association. There's 79 condominiums, and on it was on or about the 17th of January 2023, the water was shut off. And nobody told us anything. There was no written notice. There was no court order saying that the water bill wasn't paid. We have $275 monthly HOA fees, which includes for water and sewage, trash pickup, maintenance, our insurance. And on that day, I saw a company out there just digging and banging on people's doors, saying that if they did not sign a contract with this third party, that they were gonna not have any water. And I was like, what is going on? And of course, um, because the lack of transparency, we didn't have nothing to go by. So after about a week with no water, I was like asking questions. I went to the HOA board members at that time when nobody telling me nothing. And of course, we had flooding in the building because whatever pipes this third party cut, it caused flooding. So, and they didn't tell us where they cut these water lines at. So when I called my insurance carrier, and at that time it was Travelers Condo Insurance. So they came out and I said, we don't have any water. What's going on? And it was flooding. And of course, my question was, how are we flooding and we don't have any water? And it wasn't happening in my unit. So my insurance adjusters at the time um, said it was a plumbing problem. Bear in mind, they had been in communication with the board members. They didn't tell me what the board told them, but they um, made that first claim a quote unquote plumbing issue, saying that I had cleaned up everything and there was no damages. And they put me in a hotel for a few days and then closed the claim, said, oh, that's it, and sent a check out for 400 some dollars. And there was still no water in the house. So I said, and I never got checked because it kept getting returned. But anyway, I can talk because I don't have anybody to interview today. So I'll just share about the experience, and this has been since 2023, of not having essential services in the home, and my efforts to resolve the problem. See, since we didn't have any back notices, I didn't have any. I didn't have any term. There was no um, evidence at that time that we were without water services. So apparently there was water. There is still water resources on the in the property. So Rockdale Water Resources is our public water authority, and they continue to send us bills, and they continue to service us and provide us with water. So my question is, why do I have to pay a third party for water I already paid for in my HOA fees? $275 a month. And during this time, I'm seeing a lot of empty condominiums. I'm seeing people move out because they got flooded out. I saw people moving out, stressed out, and they were verbalizing their thoughts to me directly. Because I say, "Hey, why are y'all going?" And they said, "Well, we've been flooding. We can't go. We gotta go." So they were there was a high turnover of condominiums. Some people foreclosed. Some people just were displaced. And during that time, I was not no attorney, but I called legal aid, senior illegal aid services. I called them and said, "Hey, you need to investigate this." But they said things like, "Oh, this is a civil matter." Well, why has it got to be a civil matter? I said, "Can you put that in writing and tell me the laws that were broken?" That's a civil matter. So they never could provide me with that. But every time I went somewhere and I went to a doctor and said, "Hey, we don't have water in my house. I'm having this going on, skin irritations, breathing problems, all kind of things." Um, they they were like, "We're gonna call adult protective services on your behalf." Same thing. Um, so what I learned is that when someone says something adverse and they don't provide you with their documentation, you can ask for it, but you can also do your own sworn affidavit of the truth. And that overrides everything that quote unquote somebody said, heard, or, because I was getting conversations via text from um, senior this is a senior attorney from Senior Legal Services. She texted me this. She said, "Well, you told me that you were buying water from somewhere else." I said, "I never told her that because I had no idea what that source was other than my HOA fees." And I said, when she texted me that and had not had a conversation with me first, to say, "Oh, I heard you say that." She never heard me say nothing. That's her attorney um behavior, because attorneys have a license and their license isn't always to tell the truth. The only one who tells the truth is the person who believes in God, because we are the only ones sworn over a Bible to tell the truth. So that's why I read in Proverbs, it's in the Bible, "Do not go hastily to court, because if you do, you'll end up finding yourself losing in court." Because one, not everybody tell the truth, but you gonna tell the truth. So if you go into court with a bunch of liars, you're not gonna never win. So my thought was, why even take somebody to court when you're gonna lose anyway? And then the way that the HOA is set up, they're set up as a nonprofit. And as a nonprofit, you can't be sued in the state of Georgia. So I said, "Oh, so I can't even sue the HOA because they're a nonprofit. And really, I would be suing myself. So I'm not suing myself." But what I did learn was, prior to, I guess, 2024, well, really December 2024, I wasn't able to write any letters that were legible. And by the grace of God, He blessed me to start being able to write letters and speak for myself. So I've been on the campaign for the last 7 months of writing almost every day except Sundays and maybe Saturdays or whatever day. And I've been writing letters and I've been researching and I've been learning a lot about unfair deception or unfair um, um, declarations or investigations by an adjuster. This is an insurance adjuster, and it's called 93A. And what it does, it's supposed to make the insurance industry at least do adequate um I guess appraisals, adequate assessment for damages. And when they don't do that, it's called 93A. I didn't know nothing about that beforehand. So I'm learning. And so when you have gifts that differ from other people and you have multiple intelligence, that means you may be atypical, you may be, they call it these other words, but really it's a gift because you can overcome any adversity with God. And that's what I'm learning. The Bible doesn't say that I would have a life free of trials and tribulation. The Bible says count it all joy when you go through trials and tribulation, because it's a testing of your faith that produces patience. Let patience have its perfect work. So I looked up a word. It's called access whooping. That's when God allows a spiritual whooping to realign our hearts. But we must pause and reflect and create correction with humility and faith. So perhaps I was getting a whooping because that whooping caused me to go closer to God. It caused me to realign myself, to change, read the Bible more, meditate in his word day and night, and make your way prosperous. I ain't lying. When someone says hi to me today, I said, thank you, thank you, thank you, because I need to be in a state of gratitude. And I heard there was another word they call it put a can of whoop something on you. Well, I didn't have a can, but God got a hold of me with some ass to whooping. So I said to myself, I had a whooping, so I need to use God's word to help me. So I also learned about a regulation. It's in the insurance. It's a code. It's 44.3-107. That is a code that requires HOAs to maintain minimum insurance. Max, they got to have minimum $1 million policy um, in place for situations like that. And my HOA was not giving me any information about our insurance. But count it all joy when you go through trials and tribulations. It's a testing of your faith that produces patience. So I had to go back through, I think, thousands of papers. No, I didn't have to. I chose to look for the errors I had made. And some of them were just typographical errors. Some of them were because I didn't know that section of the law. A section of the law, because I'm not an attorney. And plus at that time, I was like, what? I'm still dealing with the realization I don't have no water in the house, how I take a bath, all this stuff. How do I even navigate through this? So I just thank God for giving me the resilience to keep moving forward. And to go back and look at my receipts and to honor my word. Because there was lots of things going on that wasn't in alignment with God's way of doing things. I was described as something that I wasn't, but now, since I have the document in my hand, I can go and add a supplement to my police reports that speaks for me, not somebody else speaking for me. So when I call the police saying my house is flooding and I supposedly don't have no water, well, this police officer talked about it as though It was a civil matter. Well, this is the incident number: 2023 000 79264. And it was a call I called in 10/19/2023. My house was flooding. And then when I called it in, it was a non-emergency because they didn't like coming to my house for whatever reason. They told me I can only call in on a non-emergency number. So I followed the instructions. And when he stopped by, he was obviously upset that he had to come by my house. And he he just said, "Oh, this is a civil issue," rather than reporting it as a public health and safety hazard. That's what he should have did. It should have been created because of unauthorized water termination and the resulting flooding. But, despite being told by the dispatch that I was, quote unquote, irrational, I remain clear and persistent in stating that the essential services were illegally disconnected and that Rockdale Water Resources is the authorized public water authority, should be contacted. The police report, City of Conyers, case number this, inaccurately portrayed the facts as a billing dispute or a civil matter when it wasn't. The officer's narrative falsely referenced a third-party company. I didn't even know about the third-party company at that point as a billing issue. I never even had a contract with this third-party contractor. That's the funky thing. But the officer never authorized an investigation by Adult Protective Services. I never authorized or contracted a third-party contractor, such as a non-PSC public water company, which is a third-party contractor, on that date or any date for essential services. They are not an authorized public water authority. They don't even have certification for wastewater management. All they are supposed to do is bill for water, but why would we want to be billed separately for water when we pay for water in our HOA fees? And why would I want to get a different water meter when we just paid $20,000 less than 10 years ago for our master meter? Why would I want to do that? And this third-party company did not use, they didn't get a permit, and they did not use universal plumbing standards. So that's why the insurance carrier would have dropped my coverage anyway if I would have gone with this third-party company. So would my mortgage, because they are not following universal plumbing standards, and they didn't get no permit to dig or do nothing. But our water account for our community with Rockdale Water Resources is 425508-125508. And my question is, the water was never disconnected by the Public Water Authority, because I contacted the director, his name is Kimberly Peak, with Rockdale Water Resources on December the 11th, 2023, who later confirmed that the water services and the sewer services were being delivered, and they're still being delivered to Viewpoint East condominiums. So these years without water services is not something that should be happening to us, and it's not a suable thing. They just misrepresented it. I was misrepresented by the police, and I was misrepresented by the city of Conyers because I went to one of their city council meetings in September of 2023 and said, hey, we don't have any water. You got to make sure we have water services. I also contacted our master policy, Twin City Fire Insurance. That policy number is 20 S like in Sam, B like in Bravo, A like in Apple, A like in Apple, K like in King, 0523. This policy was initially issued by Strawn Insurance. That's in McDonough, Georgia. Needless to say, they changed their name to Oak Ridge Insurance. And they have the same policy with Twin City Fire Insurance Policy 20 S like a Sam, BAAK 0523. That's for Viewpoint East Condominium. We should have already have had our water services restored, all of us in compliance with the universal plumbing standards. That's with Rockdale Water Resources. That's the public water authority for our area. And that's the only one that has its, what do you call those licenses? Wastewater management licenses, they are certifications, as well as water management services for clean water. And so I look at it this way. I learned a lot about water services. I learned a lot about sewage backup. I learned a lot about contractors. I learned a lot about myself, really. And despite the water being shut off, God has been with me. And despite still paying mortgage services, my mortgage providers, PHH Mortgage Services, reached out to them and say, hey, you need to do something about this. You need to help us. They haven't yet. I have certified return receipts to them. They didn't say nothing. And they've been in trouble before for predatory billing practices, using third-party contractors to turn off people's water, all kind of stuff. And they think I'm not going to say nothing? I don't think so. I'll say something. But if you don't say nothing, it's like you agree with the problem. So researching makes a difference. And I'm grateful. And then we have board members who like to call police on us too. People in the community accusing us of doing things that we didn't do. Well, I have a sworn statement for that also. And I thank God for giving me the privilege to speak on my behalf instead of somebody else speak on my behalf, because I didn't ask them to. So the fact is this: once you learn, you can apply. So I've been doing all this paperwork, researching, and I've been learning a lot. Our HOA declarations says that the HOA must provide water to it. They have it. So I've been going to the HOA meetings every month that they have one. Sometimes they just don't have one council. They don't want to give us nothing in writing. They verbalize everything. But see, it seems kind of funny. I could put my stuff in writing, but they can't put nothing in writing. Nothing. I asked for a copy of our minutes, copy of our bills, copy of our contractors. Still haven't got none in the last 3 years. Oh, but that's okay, because God says, count it all joy when you go through trials and tribulation. It's a testing of my faith to see if I still would be faithful over little. So the HOA failed to provide my immediate needs, which is required. It's a violation of the Georgia Public Health and Safety Ordinances. That's something. Georgia Code 46-2-6 mandates that utilities, including water, must not be unjustifiably interrupted especially in circumstances where an individual has paid their bills. The fact that the City of Conyers police officer dismissed the urgency of the situation as a civil issue was a failure to properly protect health, which is required by Georgia law. Failure to take action regarding adult protective services. The report documents that I had requested assistance from the police to contact adult protective services due to, medical problems. Yet the officer took no action. Officer Haynes, same last name as one of our other persons that was on the board. He's passed away. My condolences. But they just had the same name. I don't know if they were related. And under Georgia's Adult Protective Services Act, that's OCGA 30-5-4, it is the responsibility of the local authorities to take immediate action in cases involving vulnerable adults. I'm a senior now, I guess you can tell. Um, Under that act, by not contacting Adult Protective Services, the police violated their duty to ensure the safety of disabled individuals. This is violation of public safety protocol. According to the report, the Officer Haynes, advised that this is a civil matter and it is not his responsibility to ensure the restoration of water. However, this dismissive approach contradicts Georgia law regarding public service and emergency response protocols. Officers are required to ensure the safety and well-being of citizens, and the failure to provide assistance or escalate the matter to proper authorities constitutes negligence in the fulfillment of the officer's duties. Can you believe that? Our police chief for the city of Conyers is R. Scott Freeman. He's very intelligent. He's PhD, doctorate, all that. And I don't understand why this happened on his watch. Because water is a life-sustaining need. And nobody in the city of Conyers, since my property is located in the city of Conyers, stepped up to protect us, the residents who pay property taxes. So anyway, there's a case law that speaks to that. One of it is State versus Allen, 271 GA. This was in 2004, APP 724. This case demonstrates the responsibility of local authorities to intervene in situations involving vulnerable adults who are at risk. The lack of response to Ms. Carr's request, my request for assistance, constitute violation of rights under Georgia law. Johnson versus the City of Atlanta. This is 310 GA APP 492. This was a case that was in 2011. The court held that the law enforcement is required to ensure that they intervene appropriately when public safety is compromised. The officer's failure to take proper action regarding my complaint may constitute a violation of Georgia's duty to protect doctrine. See, they have what do you call it? They have an oath. Police officers have an oath. Public servants have an oath. The oath of responsibility. And one of their oaths is to make sure they protect the health and safety of the community. And this is obvious that this has not been done in our case. And I'm not the only one without water. The next door neighbors, a few other people who just don't even live there anymore, own the properties, but they can't even rent it out to anyone because it has no essential services. And so immediate assistance should have been provided to me, such as contacting the appropriate authorities. The appropriate authority would have been Adult Protective Services and Rockdale Water Resources, who is the authorized water authority. Okay, that didn't happen. But now that we getting educated, we're learning that faith without works is dead. So this is my works of investigating and researching and following up with my sworn affidavit, my own testimony. I mean, because this is all part of violations of the Georgia Fair Housing Act. This is OCGA 8-3-200. We should have already have resolved this. But I thank God for keeping me. The HOA cannot prohibit an owner from accessing common areas like the parking lot when the owner is delinquent on HOA fees, which I ain't delinquent. But they were calling the police on me saying she's walking in the community. I had to laugh. Police came down to talk to me. Are you yelling at people in the backyard? I said, what are you talking about? We ain't even got backyards. I cracked up laughing in my head. Okay. I said, hey, they all calling the police, saying, oh, I'm fearful of my life. So their name would be redacted off the report. I had to laugh. But part of the Viewpoint East bylaws assessment says, this is Article 1, an owner's share of the common expenses, which from time to time is assessed against an owner by the association in a manner provided. It states that the directors may suspend voting rights, right to use recreational facilities of an owner for a period which an assessment against the owner's resident remains unpaid. Section 6, this is the reason why I'm not gonna buy no more HOAs ever again. And if you think about HOAs are your neighbors. So if they're abusing you, that's wrong. But they're gonna reap what they sowed. So I can't be mad at them because God prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. My cup is running over because of their lack of responsibility, a lack of transparency, and just trying to cover up lies. It still gets exposed. Article 7 of Viewpoint Declarations and Amendments provides remedies of the social association when assessments aren't paid. But my assessments were paid. Okay. So you can this is ridiculous. Well, also of the bylaws, it says on page 4, lines 1 through 5, the association is responsible for arranging water services and ensuring proper maintenance of plumbing and irrigation systems. Furthermore, any action regarding service termination must comply with the state regulations that require prior notice and a fair opportunity for residents to address any alleged payment deficiencies. Well, my HOA fees are paid in full, and I have receipts of all of them. So this unauthorized water termination, the abrupt termination of water services without proper notification contravenes Georgia law, which mandates that utility providers must provide notice before discontinuing services. Residents must be informed of any outstanding balances and given an reasonable opportunity to resolve them. That wasn't done in my case. I have receipts. So HOA ain't talking. My neighbors aren't talking the truth. So the Consumer Protection Agency, the, they're supposed to, that's to take actions about these third party collection agencies. Oh, we got some hanky panky going on in Georgia, all up in their government systems. I might as well tell it all. The Georgia Department Commission of Insurance, they've had a vast um problem with their leadership, embezzling money, all kind of things. And it has not stopped. And they thought that I wasn't gonna say nothing about it. Please. If I transpose one number, that doesn't mean you take that number and say, oh, this was the claim number. I don't think so. You corrected it, and once I realized I had made the error, then I updated. But since I was hand typing all my letters, I didn't notice the typographical error on my part. But now I do, so I can go for now on. I can have the correct case number. But you can't tell me 5, 6, 7 years later, oh, you had the right number the whole time. I don't think so. The number was corrected when you wrote it in your email. First time, 7 years ago, Mr. Well, I forgot his name, but I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Manasseh Zudi. Okay. You don't all of a sudden make up some number because I transposed it. No, thank you. So I'm correcting my own errors now. And so the association must have proper insurance policy. That's with Strawn Insurance, which is now Oakridge. Okay, it's supposed to afford for fire and extended coverage insurance. That includes Biolabs fire, Hurricane Helene, who dropped 11.1 inches in the Atlanta metro area, further messing up our infrastructure, which had not been taken care of. But the city, the local authorities, is going to have to resolve that since I'm on camera saying everything now. And it's not going to take forever. We're going to get the look. Integrity means doing the right thing even when when no one's looking. Okay. So we had power surges. Some of my appliances are no longer working because power surge. I have 2 refrigerators. One of them just stopped working because we had a power surge. And that happens. I have my little business in there, which is Cece Pound Cake. That's what the commercial general liability insurance policy is in place to cover for bodily injury, for property damages, an amount not less than $1 million for a single occurrence, and $2 million. What's going on with us is millions because they have not resolved. And then we had fake news from Neferteria, her name was Neferteria Brewster. She did a story about Viewpoint East condominiums with the Rockdale citizens, but she didn't interview me. I don't know who she interviewed, but she failed. I wrote her a letter back to the citizens. Rockdale says they got the letter. What it did was she had published these stories on February 2nd, 2023, and then she updated it in March 11th, 2024, regarding Viewpoint East condominiums and its involvement with Jasper Utility Services. The article maintains inaccuracies that represents the legal and regulatory framework governing water services in Rockdale County, Georgia. Specifically, the article failed to accurately report that Rockdale Water Resources is the only Georgia Public Service Commission approved and authorized public authority currently billing for essential services, water. That's in Rockdale County. Jasper Utility Services is not a PSC, that's the Georgia Public Service Commission approved public water authority, and should not have been misrepresented as a legitimate a legitimate service provider for essential services. This is what this Nefertaria did. And she's on LinkedIn. So I emailed her and like LinkedIn. She didn't say nothing. Okay. Additionally, the article did not adequately address the predatory billing practices of Viewpoint East condominiums, utility billing from both Rockdale Water Resources, which are HOA fees, and a non-PSC public approved public water 3. They don't have no certification, which resulted in Jasper Utility Service initiating on or about the 17th of January 2023 with no permits, digging, unauthorized termination of water services, several residents, all the buildings. All the reported installation fees were up to $4,225 per condominium. And they billing for water too, usage. And they not even a public water authority. Oh, and cause flooding, just pull up everything. Predatory billing practices imposed without proper transparency or consent from affected residents. I ain't had no consent for that. This constitutes potential violations of Georgia consumer protection laws. The failure to clearly distinguish between the PSC approved public authority, Rockdale Water Resources, and an unregulated private billing service, Jasper Utility Services, collection agency, misleads the public and obscures the legal implication of the situation. This is Nefertaria Brewster, writer. She don't even live in our community. The article's inaccuracy contribute to a misunderstanding of the regulatory violations at play and do not hold accountable those responsible for predatory billing practices for essential services, improper utility management practices at Viewpoint East condominiums. Viewpoint East condominiums address 1450 Pine Log Road, Conyers, Georgia 30012. They have changed it on Google, but they still get all their mail at 1450 Pine Log Road. On Google, it says 1472 Pine Log Road. I went over there. It's just a condominium. Ain't nothing in there. Ain't no clubhouse. Our records ain't over there, nothing. I'm going to say it like I'm from Alabama. So the HOA collects $275 monthly HOA maintenance fee. They're supposed to get it from 79 units, but they sold condominiums to investors. They don't even live on the property. They're just holding condominiums and they're voting for us. I said, no, thank you. Only about 40, 50 people paying HOA fees. And these private investors who have their condominiums in business names cannot be sued because they're a business. So they put the title in their business name. I said, okay, isn't this supposed to be a resident-only community? It's supposed to tell you a lot about the hanky-panky going on at Viewpoint East condominiums. It's a community that's supposed to be an owner-occupant. But how they got away out of allowing people who are renters to come in, oh, we'll do a lease-to-own purchase. They never get qualified to buy nothing. So they in there paying rent, and the owner ain't living there. Okay, supposed to be a resident, but yet they voting for us. So anyway, I'm gonna get to the next step. This is on the story, and hold up, this story does not even share that this Jasper Utility Service has a F, like in Frank, rating on the BBBB. Okay, we found that out with an article done by, what's her name, Ashley Lincoln, Channel 2. She did an article, Jasper Utilities, where they were predatory charges for essential services. These homeowners and renters were facing in Atlanta Metro, Clayton County, and also us. And so I reached out to Ashley Lincoln and said, hey, when we're gonna have a conversation about this, because thank you for doing this story. But they doing more than just predatory billing. They turn off people's water illegally. And I sent her a copy of my bills that I paid. I ain't hear nothing from her. Nothing. Not from Ashley. She didn't say nothing. I sent her copies of my paid $275 a month. And then this is the Rockdale Water Resources, if you can see it. It never was disconnected, but this is our bill. You see our usage. How much did we use? This is how many gallons we use. This is 366. That ain't gonna no gallons per. It's 396,000 gallons of water. Thousands. How does that happen when you ain't got nobody in the house? That's because we got busted water lines. And they charging us for water that we didn't even use, that wasn't even delivered. And then what I found out is that Rockdale Water Resources has so much business that it can't process all the water. So they got to pay DeKalb County to process our water. And DeKalb County can't do it all either because they got a lot of water to process too. And you see, HOA, look, 2023, they pay $8,349. Where did we get that money from? The 18th, we paid $7,774. And then the same day, another 2,071 all in 1 month. And we if you do analysis of water usage for 79 units, it would be a whole lot. Look, we had 1 month where it was 215,000 gallons. That's still a lot for 6-inch base. Do analysis on that. 129,000 gallons. This is 129,000 gallons. This is 609,000 gallons of water. And bear in mind, we weren't all in the house. What month was this? This is December. We all trying to go home for Christmas. Ain't nobody home. How we use that much water at one time? This is terrible. What month was this one? This is 2022. Look at all this water usage. Look, this one got less. How does the water go up and down like that? And some ain't right. Some ain't right. Some months we got none. Hardly no water usage. But yet we got 556,000 gallons of water. This is ridiculous. See this? This is so you know there's something going on where we got busted lines. I don't have to keep talking about it, but I could just thank God. You know, we got Dennis Holly getting $1,600 a month. Now he didn't move, but he was getting that every month and knowing that we didn't have people that have water. These are all the people. One lady is an insurance adjuster. How's she gonna get on the board and not say nothing? This is all violation. I talk about this for a whole day, but I talked about it for a whole hour today. So I hope somebody listens and learn. The one thing that you could learn is to document everything. Write it down. That's what diaries are for. That's what pictures are for. You could tell there was water all over the floor. How'd I have that? And I had no water now. This is 10/17/2023. I was like, what is this? So anyway, the next thing is the insurance companies need to be accountable, including the adjusters. So anyway, it's 6 o'clock, and I'm glad that we have finished today. I'm still in my car. Ooh, but thank God. Count it all joy when you go through trials and tribulations. It's the testing of your faith that produces patience. And this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I'm not going to let nobody steal my joy. I am sure of this. And I'm going to pronounce a blessing over y'all. It's in 1 Jude 1:24-25. Um, it's called a benediction, but it really opens you up for blessings. It's now unto him who is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceedingly joy. To the only wise God, our Savior, be glory, majesty, dominion, and power now and forevermore. I never knew that before, but I'm gonna be ready the next time the pastor of the smaller church he gonna call me and say, Cece, tell me the benediction. I'm gonna say Jude 1:24-25. Now unto him who is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceedingly joy. To the only wise God, our Savior, be glory and majesty, dominion and power, now and forevermore. I don't know where the camera was, so it's after 6:00. It's 6:02 now, and if Sue can hear me, I'm okay with saying thank you, everyone. I didn't have my fans today, otherwise I'd have been fanning somebody.
Well, thank you so much, Cece. As always, we appreciate you very much.
You're welcome. Good night, everyone.
Have a great night. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
You